A teacher asked her second grade class to draw a picture of anything they chose. Be creative, she told them as each of the boys and girls reached for their notepads and pencils. After the children began drawing on their pads, the teacher strolled up and down the rows, glancing at the pictures the children were drawing. She could make out what most of the children were trying to draw, except for one little girl. So she leaned over and gently asked the little girl what she was drawing. A picture of God, the little girl said. Oh, but sweetie, nobody knows what God looks like, said the teacher. Well, the little girl declared, they will when I finish. How would you picture God? What adjectives, for example, would you use to paint a word picture of God? Theologians use big terms like omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent to describe the attributes of God. Omnipresent means that God is not confined to space and time. Omniscient means that God has unlimited wisdom and knowledge. And omnipotent means that God has unbounded power. It's this word omnipotent that I'd like for us to consider. A synonym of omnipotent is the word mighty, which is one of the words used to describe God in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. He is called the mighty God. And the word is used in reference to God throughout the Bible, and in fact, sometimes the word almighty refers to God without even using His name, as in Job chapter 11 and verse 7, which asks, can you probe the limits of the Almighty? Consider what the prophet Isaiah in chapter 40 says about the Almighty, in light of what the physical sciences, including astronomy, reveal. The oceans of the world contain more than 340 quintillion gallons of water, yet Isaiah writes in Isaiah 40:12 that God has measured the waters in the hollow of His hand. The known universe stretches more than 30 billion light years. But Isaiah writes, again in verse 12, that God measures it all by the width of His hand. The earth weighs 6 sextillion metric tons, a number that I cannot even comprehend. Yet Isaiah suggests in verse 15 that God weighs the earth as dust on a scale. There are at least 100 billion galaxies, and each galaxy is made up of about 100 billion stars. To such mind-boggling numbers, Isaiah reminds us that God calls each star by name, and because of His great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. So what's the point of all of this? Here's the point. From childhood, we like to secretly think of ourselves as possessing the superpowers of a DC comic superhero. We like to imagine that we are invincible as Superman. But in real life, we face sudden and unexpected circumstances that remind us we're not invincible. In just the past few weeks, I've been made aware of a highly successful financial manager of a major corporate investment firm who was suddenly fired because he would not cooperate with the deceptive practices of the firm. In another example, a professor who had taught for many, many years with distinction was denied promotion due solely to internal politics. It's at these kinds of moments of frustration, that we realize we have run out of options and our circumstances are more powerful than we are. I mean, after all, who can win against a global corporation represented by an entire floor of lawyers? Or who can change a corrupt and unjust system? Like Superman, we all at some point come face to face with some form of kryptonite, leaving us feeling weak and powerless. It's in these moments that we have the opportunity to turn to the one who is almighty. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7, Peter is speaking to fellow Christians and encourages them to humble themselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift them up in due time. Cast all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. So does it bring you some comfort to know that the one who considers the weight of the earth as but dust, calls each star by name, measures the width of the universe with the span of His hand, and holds the waters of the ocean in the hollow of His hand, is the same God that holds your future in His hands? That's something to consider.